Hi, I'm Arnie Skelton, and each week in this podcast series I'm going to offer you my top 10 tips on particular topics or themes that might be of interest to you as a teacher or manager or both. Hi, and welcome to this week's podcast, which is on the way we can all perhaps respond helpfully and healthily to COVID-19. So this week's top 10 tips are just suggestions I have that I know work for me and for family and friends in this really difficult time. So these are going to be my top 10 tips on how to stay active and enjoying yourself whilst in confinement, whilst lockdown, whilst being socially isolated. Because in a sense, one thing we're really lucky about is the way in which we can now access technology. 50 years ago, we would really have been isolated. 30 years ago. But now we have real opportunity to stay in touch and connect as often and about whatever we like. And I really want to encourage people to do that, to use the technology to stay in touch and just use the space that we've now got. For a lot of us away from work, and whilst that's really difficult and in some cases fairly devastating, given that's how it is, let's make the best of it by doing what we can to stay healthy and active and enjoying the opportunity to share time and space and fun with friends, colleagues and relatives. So however you use the technology is entirely up to you. It can be Skype, it can be FaceTime, it can be WhatsApp, it can be Zoom. So don't be frightened of the technology. Just explore. Ask a friend to help you if you're not sure how to use the technology. But it's all there, available for you if you've got a mobile phone or a PC, just to be able to get in touch with whoever you like for as long as you like. And here are just some of my top 10 tips for doing just that. You decide whether it's fun for you on your own, fun for you with the family, all in the same house, or on a wider diaspora across, friends and relatives elsewhere, and just community groups. It's great for communities to actually use some of these ideas to stay in touch and support each other. There is nothing better than open and regular and friendly communication for keeping people healthy and informed and in kind of enjoyment and engagement. So anyway, enough of all of that. Here are my top 10 tips. And in terms of number one, it's the Joe Wicks exercise. I mean, he's fantastic, and every day, weekday, 9 till 9:30, he runs a simple series of exercises to get everybody active and healthy. It's as demanding as you want it to be, so pretty much anyone can do his exercises. You need no equipment, you simply need a space. He's doing it in his front room, and it's great for the family. So there are whole families doing this as a daily routine. Kids as young as 3 can be doing this, and people as old as me and beyond are just as engaged. And he's great as a tutor. It's very lively, it's fun, and he tells you who else is checking in live on that particular broadcast, and it's worldwide, and it's fantastic. So go onto YouTube and look up Joe Wicks, and you'll be able to log on to him live, and if you want to, you can, if you miss 9 o'clock or it's not suitable, you can always pick it up later. So tip number 1, get into Joe Wicks 9 till 9:30 and his exercise routine. Tip number 2 is what I call my 5 minutes of fun. Now, I do this as a trainer. I often, on extended programs, more than a day, I might introduce 5 minutes of fun. And I need volunteers to do this, and what they're volunteering to do is effectively produce for the rest of the group a 5-minute session simply called having fun. I simply leave it to everybody who's volunteered for this to choose what that means. and crikey, do they come up with some fantastic things. It's always a blast. It's marvellous what people will do when they're empowered to just think of and deliver and organise 5 minutes of fun. And that's all it is. 5 minutes fun. And just think about it. In the family, you could do that with the whole family. So if you've got a 3-year-old, a 13-year-old, a 23-year-old, everybody gets to have a go. You could do this every day. You could do it once or twice a week. It doesn't matter. It's what works, isn't it? So everybody gets a chance to do 5 minutes of fun. So as I'm talking to you now, just imagine with your family or with a community group or with, any social grouping, and you volunteered to do 5 minutes of fun. What would you choose? Have a go. It will be fun. And you get back what you give out. You have a go at 5 minutes, somebody else has a go at 5 minutes. It's terrific. So tip number 2, 5 minutes of fun. Okay, tip number 3 is let the children lead. Now, if this is particularly for those of you who have families with younger children in them. But of course, community groups have families with younger children in them. And what I mean by let children lead is ask them to run a session or to ask for a session. So if you ask my grandchild to what would you like us all to do today, they'll say things like baking. And then we'll say, okay, what is it you'd like us to bake? And then they get involved in the baking. But they've chosen it. And whatever they choose, so long as it's doable, we have to do. It could be an art and craft things, obviously. It could be we all have to draw a farmyard scene. Who knows? The great thing about all of these tips is they are completely open-ended. I'm not telling anyone what specifically they should do. We just ask the question. We invite a response. And away we go. So tip number 3, let the children lead. Tip number 4, this is about creating a habit, if you like, of just social interaction. And I'm calling this 10 at 10. And what that really means is every day, 7 days a week, at exactly 10 o'clock, your network for this particular activity, it could be a WhatsApp group, for instance, it could be the family. You spend 10 minutes at 10 o'clock chatting. And the best way of starting that chat off is what's new, what's happening, WhatsApp. And anybody just chips in in that 10 minutes, whatever they want to say. Maybe it's how they're feeling. Maybe it's what they're looking forward to between now and the next 10 minutes, or what they've done since the last 10 minutes. It's only 10 minutes because it's every day. So it's not a big time block. And it's light. It can't get heavy. It can't get deep. So have a go at 10 at 10. Every day. 10 minutes at 10 o'clock. Tip number 5. This is the 30-day challenge. The 30-day challenge is effectively taking 30 days to do something repetitively. So it's absolutely brilliant for habit changing or habit forming. Choose something you want to do and decide to do that consistently, persistently for 30 days. I'm sorry if there was a little bit of background noise there. A window blew open and somebody on a lawnmower started up. So my apologies if that was a bit difficult to hear, but it's the 30-day challenge, tip number 5. And it's great for changing or challenging habits because you need, a period of time, don't you, to establish a new habit, to embed it. So choose something you either want to get rid of or something that you want to do that you're not doing. My own personal one, the last time I did a 30-day challenge, is that I used to, when I'm cleaning my teeth, just leave the tap running, which is ridiculous, isn't it? But it was a habit. So now I put water on the brush and the toothpaste and then turn the tap off, clean my teeth, and then only turn it on to rinse the brush and the basin. And it's now in place. I no longer have to think about this. I now typically do not leave the water running when I'm cleaning my teeth. So that's me changing a habit in 30 days. But it could also be starting a new habit in 30 days. But you choose. Anybody can choose a 30-day challenge. That's tip number 5. Tip number 6 is to try something new. Here we are. We've got space. We're at home. And even if we're doing work from home, it's important to get some relaxation into that. When you do a 9-to-5 job, or I know some people will work longer than 9 to 5, you still come home, don't you? But when you're working from home, it can become a bit all-consuming to just be doing the work. So make sure in your day that there's a break, and do some of these tips, just one of them every day, just to make sure you have a break. But my tip number 6 is try something new. Put some time aside, 1 hour, 2 hours, to do something you've never done that you'd like to do. And mine, during this COVID-19 period, is to learn to paint. And my objective for the end of this period is to paint something well enough that I'm happy to put it on the wall. Now, I'm quite inspired by that, and I don't think I would have thought of doing that had I not got some of the space that this lockdown has now produced. So I can order some paints and materials on Amazon or wherever, and set up and get going. And I can probably click onto any number of YouTube videos that will give me instruction on how to paint, and away we go. So use this period to try something new. That's tip number 6. Tip number 7, particular favourite of mine, which is something to do with de-stressing. A mandala is basically an Indian or Eastern symbolic pattern shape. And the best thing, if you don't know what a mandala is to just type mandala into Google, or ideally mandalas to colour, and you'll get it straight away. And I use this as my main way of coming out of stress or concern and a busy brain that's looking at things fairly negatively. And I just take out some pens, colouring pens, and I start to fill in the mandala. And I found it's very therapeutic. I'm absorbed in the colouring. The colours are relaxing for me, and concentrating on keeping inside the lines and creating even colour and making a decent job of it just takes me away from my frustrations or anxieties, and I lose myself in the moment of colouring in the mandala. So it obviously doesn't have to be a mandala, and if you've got young children it can be colouring in unicorns, but for me as an adult it's amazingly powerful. And if you've never tried it and you are someone who gets a bit stressed, a bit worried, a bit anxious, and you've got a busy brain just running things without getting anywhere, have a go. Just have a go. You might be surprised at just how powerfully therapeutic it is. And of course it's pretty cheap. I don't know whether you have a printer at home, but if you don't have, you could just bring it up on screen and trace it, or just create your own copy of it, which, you're copying onto paper what you see on screen, and that itself will be quite therapeutic. So have a go. Tip number 7, colouring in your mandala. Tip number 8 is something that if you're doing anything at the moment, this is almost certainly something you'll be doing, which is to run a quiz. I've been involved in one since the lockdown started, where the members of the group, the quiz group, each week somebody chooses top 10 questions on a topic that they've been given: sport, geography, history, general knowledge, all that kind of thing. And that rotates each week. So over the last few weeks I've been asked to do a general knowledge round, and I've been asked to do a history round, and the next time it might be the geography round. So everyone gets to think about their 10 topics or 10 questions on a fresh topic, which itself is quite challenging and interesting, and you probably have to go on Google to think of some questions. So that's good in itself. And then of course you all meet, say 8 o'clock on a Sunday, and for a good couple of hours you're just having a quiz, just like you would if you were going to a pub quiz, except that you're not in a pub, you're just in your homes, and it's fabulous. And you can have your own drinks, and you can have your own crisps and nuts and whatever. Brilliant. So if you haven't done it already, just form some kind of group and have a regular weekly quiz. If it's of any interest to anyone, I have loads of quizzes. So I'll leave my email address at the end of this podcast, and if you would like some quizzes, then just email me and I'll send you them. No charge. I've got them all in stock and I'm happy to share. So that's run a quiz. That's tip number 8. And tip number 9 is a sort of follow on from that, in that run some active games. Now, people tend to think that if you're going to do games, particularly competitive games, you kind of have to be in the same room. But that's absolute nonsense, isn't it? You can have your own team in your own house running against another team in another house. You don't have to be in the room. You just have to be in the space, and the space is provided by the internet. It's fantastic. So I have loads of these as well. In fact, I have a book of about 80 games that I think are ideal for playing in your group, in your family. So in your family, you don't need the internet. The games will work live just as they would normally, but they'll also work over the internet. So again, if you would like my book of games, then just email me and I'll send it to you for free. So listen for my email address at the end of this podcast. So tip number 9 is get active by playing some games competitively and just having great fun mentally and physically with games. Okay, and tip number 10, reach out and check in. And this is a really powerful one, I think, to end with. Reach out to old friends, people maybe you've known and lost a little bit of touch with, not been in touch with for a while. Wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be great just to give them a bell? Just phone them or email them and maybe FaceTime them. Just get back in touch, because everybody needs everybody, It's a tough time, and it can be powerful to suddenly get a call out of almost nowhere from a previous, earlier connection that's just saying hi. Just wondering how you're doing, how's things? Really brilliant. And check in. So that's reaching out to people you've not reached out to for a while, and check in with people who you've not been in touch with a while just to see how they are, relatives, friends, work colleagues. If you've not been in touch with them for 3-4 weeks, just give them a bell. Just get in touch. So reach out and check in. That's my final tip. Excuse me, tip number 10. So a quick recap of my top 10 tips for not letting COVID-19 get on top of you all. We can make it through this, especially together. So tip number 1, take part in the Joe Wicks exercise, 9 till 9:30 every weekday. Tip number 2, the 5 minutes of fun. Tip number 3, let children lead. Tip number 4, 10 at 10. Tip number 5, the 30-day challenge. Tip number 6, try and learn something new. Tip number 7, lose yourself in the mandala colouring. Tip number 8, run a quiz. Tip number 9, have some active games. And tip number 10, reach out and check in. And as I said, I have plenty of quizzes I can send you, and I have plenty of active games I can send you. So if you're interested, then just email me at oh no, actually, that's wrong. That's my website. Email me at my email address, which is Arnie Skelton, ARNIE SKELTON, all one string, Arnie Skelton, at ETD UK. That's 5 letters, E for Eric, T for Trevor, D for David, U for Umbrella, K for Kite, .co.uk. Arnie Skelton at etduk.co.uk. I'd be happy to provide you with whatever quizzes or games I have. Okay, that's it for this week. Stay safe, take care, connect. Bye for now. Thank you for listening. If you've enjoyed this podcast, make sure you subscribe. You will still get the podcast for free, but you will also get an alert to let you know when the next podcast is available. And please recommend the podcast to anyone else you think might like it and benefit from it. Also, I'd really appreciate it if you could leave a review and any other comment, because they'll help promote the podcast series on the relevant platform. So, bye for now.